Yeah, before we start, I just want to say thanks for taking the time out and answering a few questions. Really appreciate it.
No problem.
All right. First of all, would you like to introduce yourself, who you are, what you do?
Okay, so my name is Valentin Siminov. I'm working for the Romanian Harm Reduction Network. I'm the executive director of this organization. RHRN was created in 2002 as an umbrella organization gathering harm reduction providers and promoting the cooperation between state institutions and civil society organizations in providing better quality services for people who use drugs. Currently we gather about 13 NGOs and 14 professionals and individuals supporting our mission. What else I can say? Our main activities are focused on advocating for more humane drug policies, for public funding for the services provided for people who use drugs. Also research as a base for our advocacy initiative, training as we're promoting our approach and working tools, and also networking communication as a means to increase the visibility and the acceptance of harm reduction in the country.
Thank you. So what exactly is the situation in Romania? Can you explain the extent of the crisis?
Currently, what happened was that one of the major, actually the most important funding covering the services for about 3,000 people that were provided by one organization called the Romanian Association Against AIDS was stopped because the project reached its end, and the stopping of the project is not an issue in itself. The issue is that all the time harm reduction programs, NGO-based, were funded by international donors. There was the Global Fund, then UN agencies, mainly the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, and lately the European Structural Funds. If Global Fund funds and the UNODC funds were dedicated on HIV prevention, the European Structural Funds are dedicated to social reinsertion of vulnerable people, not necessarily people who use drugs or other vulnerable groups that are exposed to HIV. So it was an opportunity for this organization to submit a project that was applied, that was granted, but the funds were not dedicated to HIV. So what I want to say is that the problem in Romania currently is that we don't, as NGOs working with drug users, we don't have access to public funding, which affects the sustainability of the projects. We always had to find international support in order to develop these programs, and until this year we managed to find this support. Since 2007, since Romania entered the European Union, the country was no longer eligible for international funding coming from the Global Fund or from UN agencies, because now we were part of the European Union, which in itself was a guarantee that Romania is able to take care of its own problems, at least in terms of public health, which should be a priority for the country. But things are not as they should be, and currently we are facing an HIV epidemic. It started in 2011 with, I don't know if you remember exactly, more than 100 cases, or just a moment. Yeah, so it happened it started in 2011 with 131 new HIV cases. And the trend continued for 2012. And alright. So I was talking about the HIV increase.
Yeah.
I was saying that it started in 2011 and it continued in 2012. And to give a clearer image on this, During 2007 until 2010, we had only 28 new HIV cases among injecting drug users. And during 2011-2012, there were 362 cases, which shows like a huge increase in this population. And additionally, last year there was another survey made by an organization from Romania, showing that we have the basis to believe that half of the injecting drug users population in Bucharest might be HIV positive, which in strong numbers, let's say it's up to 10,000 people.
Right. So what exactly is your new campaign trying to achieve? Like, what are you trying to work towards?
The new campaign is aiming to determine the government to take strong measures in order to control this epidemic, because we believe that we face a serious public health problem, and the only way that we can put it under strict control in a sustainable manner is to implement a national HIV prevention program for vulnerable populations focused on people.
So why have such needle exchange programs lost so much funding, and why is the Romanian government so adamant not to give funding to these organizations?
The government is not determined not to give funding. We just initiated communication with the Ministry of Health. In all these years of discussions and contacts with the state institutions, we found out that there are not sufficient funds to be allocated for preventing HIV among injecting drug users. And in order to prove that our demands are not very expensive and these interventions are very cost effective, we initiated cost effectiveness analysis. So what we discovered was that the cost of syringe provision per person per year costs about 500 euros, while HIV treatment, antiretroviral treatment, costs around 6,000 euros per year per person. So it's a 12 times fold difference between needle exchange and the treatment, which shows that it's a lot easier and cheaper to prevent than to treat. So that means that the government argument that money is not enough, it's not valid. Our government is committed to provide universal access to treatment to people, and now, as we have this increase in HIV, the costs of providing treatment for injections affected by HIV will be 12 times higher than the cost of HIV prevention.
I see.
So, in order to determine, a change in this situation, we need to increase the dialogue with the government and to properly explain this simple reasoning behind all our activities.
So why is the campaign so important?
So the campaign is important because it is a means, for us, it is a means to increase the visibility of this issue, to get national authorities and local authorities' attention, and also eventually to get population support in our efforts to prevent and to control HIV spread among injecting drug users.
And how can people show support for the campaign?
People can support the campaign by disseminating the information, which is a very good documentary made by the Hungarian Civil Liberties Union, and also by signing the petition on the Avaz, and I will just send you these contacts. Yeah. So it's the documentary describing what is going on in the country, and also it ends with an invitation to direct action from the viewers and from everybody who wants to support our campaign to sign a letter and to send it to the Romanian authorities, the Prime Minister and the Minister of Health, and also to sign Nava's petition to support our actions.